Let me take a picture. I'll take a picture of you.
You can take a picture as we go live. So we are now live. I'm smiling for the camera. Everybody else is going to smile as well. We just wait for some people to call us. There you go. I'm getting a phone call now as we speak. So give it a bit longer. So should we talk football, Paul?
Let's talk football.
What's going to happen to the Premier League before we start getting some people on here?
They should work it off. I actually
just because you're a Liverpool fan, hey? You want it written off?
I'm a Spurs fan like you, and I really couldn't kid two hoots about it. I've completely written it off. And actually, it's been quite boring watching the back of the paper because it's the same old news all the time. You know, watching players training when they shouldn't be training and stuff like that. I think they've got to write it off.
No, so now we stop talking, Paul, because we're getting a few people on here. So firstly, thanks for joining today. If you can hear us, will you just let us know? Zoe Bywater, you know Zoe?
I know Zoe. Hello, Zoe.
You got a massive no. I don't know what that means. But if you can hear, just please comment. If you can like it, share it, get the message out, tag some people in. I'm joined today by Paul Champolina, who is the founder of Landlord Action, brand ambassador of Hamilton Fraser, TV star. Call yourself a TV star?
Love Island.
Love Island, yeah, been on that. So of Nightmare Tenants and Slum Landlords on Channel 5. So welcome, thanks a lot. So we're just being joined by a few people. They can hear us. So we got Mandeep. Hi Mandeep, used to work together at Green and Company. I won't say how many years ago, quite a few. Loretta, thanks for joining us. Andrea again from Perthshire. So again, important, Paul, I know we're going to talk a lot today about lettings, but we've got people here tuning in from Scotland, Wales, and I appreciate in Scotland and Wales it's very different. I know in Wales you've got Rent Smart there, so you have to cater for a very wide audience here, Paul.
No, that's fine. I do it all the time.
Okay, Minaj, thank you, all loud and clear from Warrington. Sarka from Banbury, so thanks very much. Sarah from Birmingham, Loretta from Stoke Newington, Zoe from Thickball. Okay. Well, I pressed. Chris Stevens from Woking, Owen from East London, Zoe again, Piers from Location, Andy from Warrington, Anton from Tamworth, Jim from Scotland, and Harry from Dorset. So thanks very much for joining us. So Paul, we were having a discussion just before we came on before. Hi Ashley, thanks for joining us. I actually want to talk about business. Do you think there are going to be more landlords wanting to get into the market with what's going on at the moment?
It's going to work in both ways because you will see landlords exit, the ones and twos landlords that will exit because of what's been going on and hardship and obviously struggling. I'm getting a bit of feedback here, Steve. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. So you will get some landlords that will exit the market that obviously struggled because of this crisis and cash flow. The ones and twos, obviously, the banning of Section 21, the legislation, and it's getting harder and harder for the part-time amateur landlords. And then, of course, you will be getting landlords that want to expand their portfolio. I mean, as I said to you before we came on air, Steve, I personally believe that rents will come down. I think, obviously, that the market will come down 10, 15%. I think, I'm looking at getting a buy-to-let for my kids somewhere locally for where I'm in North London. I'm going to wait 6, 12 months. I'm not going to rush in. I'm going to be ready to move. You will get landlords that obviously had that capital appreciation over the course of time that have made good money on their single 1 or 2 units, and they want to cash in their chips, and of course, let's look at the offering with regard to buy-to-let. The loan to value might be coming down to 60, 70%. And I did one a webinar for Habito a couple of weeks ago, and when obviously the lockdown was announced, 50% of products came out of the market. There'll be people coming back in, so there'll be opportunities. But I think the hardest hit area won't be the resi market; it will be the commercial property market, without a doubt.
Okay. Thankfully, we've got no commercial agents on here, so you're absolutely fine.
Okay,
We
good.
we don't need to slaughter them just yet. Hi, Mark Newton. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Hannah. Jim Parker. I remember Paul from my days as chairman of a national landlord association in Scotland. We've been going the same amount of time. Sean Hooker, good to see you too. Thanks very much for joining us. So please share it, like it, tag some people in. Let's get this going. So this question has actually come from Jim up in Scotland. So what is the best way to recover the unpaid rent from lockdown? Labour are lobbying for a 5-point plan. What are your thoughts, please?
Well, I actually just done a press release today in response to Labour's 5-point plan, which you'll see on Letting Agents Today, Landlord Zone. We own Landlord Zone, which is one of the brands that we own at Hamilton Fraser. There's two questions. I mean, I've answered about collecting money. The second point, what's happened in England, it's also happened in Scotland effectively, is that there's been a suspension of current court cases in England up to the 25th of June. It was 90 days. Notice periods have been changed to 3 months. Section 8's 14 days to 3 months. Section 21's 2 months to 3 months. The problem we've got is that people that have currently got cases in the system, the court system, and at Landlord Action, we've got 500 to 600 cases stuck. They're the landlords going to get hit the worst. I mean, you could have landlords that are owed rent arrears for a year. They may end up getting their property back for another 6 months. So there's a review by the government on the 25th of June to see whether there should be an extension of the suspension of court proceedings further. I think it might happen till September, which is an absolute killer for current landlords who have tenants that aren't paying the rent for various different reasons pre-COVID-19. Let's be very clear about that. Our messaging has been any tenant affected by COVID-19 shouldn't technically be evicted, and that's why they put these measures in place. And actually, tenants and letting agents should work with tenants more than ever, make sure that it is plausible that they have lost their job, they have been furloughed, getting that documentation. I mean, there's been something like 1.1 million universal credit application claims that have been processed during lockdown, so we are in unprecedented times. I'm someone that's worked collecting debt, helping landlords for 27, 28 years. I've worked in recessions. This is unprecedented. Until we get a vaccine and we know where we're at, then hopefully things will calm down. But we've got this for another year. And really, the housing market, Steve, has been suspended. It's on freeze until obviously we come out after the other part from the summer. We get a bit of indication. But on rentals are really still strong. I'm speaking to landlords that are still renting properties during lockdown. I know there's issues with regard to viewings and check-ins, but I know, especially with self-managed landlords, and it's been really challenging for letting agents. They've got to pay the bills, and the worst thing for a landlord during this time and worrying going forward is the tenant circumstances change. Can I get a decent tenant in? Because obviously the referencing process is going to change. And is my property going to be empty?
Fine. So again, joined by Richard Cook from Scotland. Thank you. Lucy, nice to see you. Say hello to you. Saying hello. So nice to see you. Ex-Green and Co colleagues. So welcome and thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Got a lot of history with Green and Co.
I know you got history. I remember those Wednesday morning, you coming in and doing your talks.
I know.
They were the good old days.
I remember kicking David Pollock on the football pitch many moons ago.
Yeah, I'm sure your punishment then was coming in to do the Green and Company. For most probably him trying to pull your shorts down. So coming back with that, and obviously you said the court's suspended. Landlords are getting or not getting some rent in. Is there mediation that people can go through now in order to do that? Is that something that can be done? Is that something that's actually happening?
Yeah, well, we launched 2 weeks ago. So at Hamilton Fraser, I don't know if anyone knows, they bought My Business Landlord Action 3 years ago. So we own My Deposits, we own the Property Redress Team, Client Money Protect, Total Landlord Insurance, HF Assist, which is a letting agent advice line, and obviously Tenant Verified. So we own loads of brands. But what we launched 2 weeks ago was a mediation service for landlords, for letting agents, because of the court suspension, which we run on the PRS, which is on the PRS website. Because if it's going to take 6 to 9 months, the only way you can do is work with your tenant to try and mediate, try and do some sort of deal. But even if they default on that mediation, you still got to go to court. But what's coming in now, and it's definitely coming in, and we've done some consultation through our legal director, Tim Throne, is pre-action protocols coming in, which they have in place for social tenants that are in arrears. So what's going to happen now is a landlord will have to, before issuing a claim, will have to have dialogue with the tenant, make sure they can speak English, make sure if they know they're vulnerable or not, if they need assistance, if they can apply for housing benefit, and try and work out a pre-action plan and have proof of documentation, correspondence, phone calls, and have that filed with a court claim. They want that to do because, I'm on the housing court consultation, the banning of Section 21, which is going to come in. I'm on all these consultations. And what is heavily going to be engaged in all of this is mediations. The courts, at the end of this year, when the freeze and the suspension is freed up, they're going to be slaughtered. They're going to be absolutely inundated with claims and how they can source cases with have enough judges and bailiffs. So, we have to wait and see. So mediation will feature heavily.
And have you seen, what sort of take-up have you seen on that? And just before you answer that, just hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us from Thomas Morris. Hi, Ruth. Thanks again for joining us. Helen, thanks for joining us. So please get the message out there, like it, share it, tag people. Great stuff, Paul, that you're sharing. So thank you. So going back, what take-up have you seen on the mediation service, or is it just too early at this stage?
No, we've had plenty of instructions that have come through. I mean, we're doing a lot of mediation work for insurance companies. So you've got to realise with insurance companies that are offering rental insurance cover for landlords, a lot of that's been pulled because of COVID-19, but obviously the terms of business and the court suspension now. So we're doing a lot of mediation work with regard to the insurance companies. We're having individual landlords that are desperate and thinking, I need to get my property back, but it's going to take me 6 to 9 months. Where do I turn? The problem you have is tenants bury their head in the sand. They don't want to engage. 98% of tenancies run through absolutely swimmingly. And a good tenant doesn't turn into a bad tenant overnight. And the average term of a tenancy is 4 years and 3 months. And one thing I will turn around and say to all the letting agents out there, you are unsung heroes. From all the talks that I do and all the webinars that I do, in the last year to 18 months, even with the book that I wrote with Kate Faulkner, The Landlord's Friend, I can't push enough. You have to use a letting agent more than ever now. And actually, a tenant will stay in a property longer because it's managed better. And actually, landlords don't understand it. I think you're getting more and more landlords realising it now, thinking, you know what, I'd rather pay a tenant, I'd rather pay a letting agent full management fee rather than let only.
Can I just ask you on that, Paul? So we've got loads of letting agents on here, and thanks Cheryl for joining us as well. And Anton's got a question which I'll ask you at the moment. So it's a really good point you make. So there's a lot of letting agents that have got let-only landlords here, and I think letting agents do an absolutely fantastic job. But how do they get their message out there to other landlords and even to the let-only landlords that they should be managing their properties? Because again, a lot of agents are gonna suffer financially, and this is an opportunity to get people who are from let-only to go from maybe let-only or not have. We had this whole discussion last time whether you should just get away from let-only and have a minimum of rent collection and manage property. So again, be interested in your thoughts. Hi, Andy Davis, the road runner from Walton-on-Thames. Thanks for joining us. And Brendan, Roadrunner. And then we've got Brendan, the cyclist, joining us from Whitney in Oxford. So we're getting all these athletes joining us. And look at, you're a boxer, and then look at me. So,
well, I was going to say something else, but it's a family show. You know what? You made it. So as you know, I mean, obviously, I'm not doing it now because of lock-in and whatever. I travel all over the country, and I do like you. I train agents, but I train agents on how to convert let-only to full management, how to attract landlords to your business. I do loads of workshops with loads of agents, and they book me to come in and do it. You know what? A letting agent is needed more now than ever before. Okay, I say that your let-only fee is 8% or whatever, or 6%. Your full management 10, 12%. You divide that by 12 months over a 12-month AST, it's pennies. Okay. The problem you've got with letting agents, they don't big themselves up enough. Their pitch is not right. They don't understand what's going in the landlord's head. You know, you've got different types of landlords. You need to understand your landlord book. What should have happened when the tenant fee ban came in the 1st of June last year? And I do talks with various different letting agent organisations. And I turn around and say to them, how many of you, when that ban came in, got straight on the phones, spoke to your let-only landlords and told them about your full management services and explain what you do for full management, which basically is like cutting down a tree, right? Or what you do. How do you scaremonger your landlords in a very pleasant way of how you're going to protect them from not being fined and that you're compliant with this? And if you have a tenancy deposit scheme, if you do, and explain that, they don't do that, you know. And you know, if I turn around and said, and I gave David Cox a bit of work, and they actually did it on the talk that I did in Brighton. So, you know, I do a lot of other talks. I said, how much time does a letting agent spend in man hours for the whole business in managing, full management a 6-month or 12-month AST? No one can tell me the answer, right? It should be hours and hours and hours. If you explain that to your landlord and say, you know what, it's going to cost you £18 a month or whatever it is, or 35 quid a month, we're going to fully manage. You're never ever going to speak to your tenant, especially when they're drunk and they've lost their keys at 4 a.m, right? Or the boiler's breaking down. That's just me. It might normally 5 a.m, right? But you know, we'll deal with it all for you, right? We take the aggravation away. The key to running a successful buy-to-let, and again, I write and I talk about this, is your letting agent. Your letting agent are worth their weight in gold. But letting agents, unfortunately, are very complacent. You know, when I do these talks, Steve, and you'll know this from doing the circuit, I'll say to you, how many agents, I write content all the time. You know, I'm always writing content, I'm always doing stuff. How many of you have written blogs, have written articles relating to your local area? Because what you are is a local buy-to-let expert. You know about that new development that's now near the leisure centre. You know about that. And actually, when I do these talks to 50, 60 agents, 4 or 5 hands go up. I say to them, what's your average void period from when you take instruction? No one can tell me. You know, how different are you from ABC lettings four shops away? Well, we give a good customer service, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, you've got to be thinking about how I'm not going to offer let only. Let only will go. Right? It will literally be, if you want let only, Steve, I'll find you a tenant. You've got a couple that work at the hospital. Here's their contact details, over to you. I'm not even going to give you a tenancy agreement. I'm not even going to, I'll give you the reference. I'll do a reference and that's it. You do everything else, because they're too on the hook with regard to liabilities. All we do is rent collection and this. And actually, you know, I know, and you'll know this guy, and I won't mention his name, but he lost something like £800,000 when the tenant fee ban came in. He clawed it back for £450,000. They had about 11 offices. They put their fees up 1 digit. You know, yes, most landlords don't like spending money and whatever, but actually, if it ain't broken, it doesn't need fixing. They swallow it. They take the extra digit increase. And he only lost 2 landlords, and he manages 4,500 properties.
I mean, look, it's about educating. I do an exercise on my training about, you know, what you do for your fee. Get every letting agent to say, right, I want you to write down, because maybe a landlord, all a landlord thinks you do is put a property on Rightmove and that's it. And then a tenant sees the advert, pick up the phone, that's it, it's still done. So actually I said, right, I want you to write down from the time you take the instruction to actually the tenant moves in, how many things have you done? And we got up to 97. I said, are you laminating that? Are you taking that to your landlord and you demonstrating what you were doing for your fee? No. Well, there's an opportunity. Definitely. And the other thing that I find really, really interesting, hi, Andy Overman, thanks for joining us, is PIN meetings. So there's loads of networking. So there's loads and loads of landlord events that go on up and down the country, and I accept now we're in different times, but maybe now these meetings are happening via Zoom. How many letting agents have physically offered to say, here's my hand up, I'll come along, and let me talk about all the different types of legislation there is, and demonstrate that I am the local expert, as you said. You know, I'm the
Well, that
local expert.
question, I asked that question to a room full of 50, 60 letting agents. How many of you go to networking meetings, council forums, you know, PIN meetings, NLA meetings, BNI meetings? 3, 4 hands went up. Letting agents generally, I'm not talking about the crowd that are listening to you, but letting agents per se generally have been very complacent. Landlords don't grow on trees. Okay, you've got to find them. Generally, they get recommended. I mean, I'll tell you a story. I mean, look, I do get recognised from time to time because of the TV program. But I was taking the dog for a walk. You know where I live in North London, and this postman stopped. He goes, "Hello, Paul. I love your show." Da, da, da. He goes, "I've got a tenant. I need to track down. They owe me £9,000 in rent arrears." I said, "Really?" So I gave him, you know, I took this detail. I said, "How many properties do you own?" He's a postman, by the way. He owns 8 properties, 8 buy-to-lets. Landlords are everywhere.
Look, I agree, and that's my favourite question. Asking, is this your only property, or is it part of a larger property empire? And then the amount of times people laugh, say, "I wish I had an empire." So I say, "Why is it a kingdom or a universe?" And it breaks the ice, and it helps people. I just want to come back to what Anton asked earlier, and again, please like it, share it, get your colleagues on here as well. So rent insurance. So who would you recommend for rent insurance that still has a product at the moment, if anyone?
So there's 2 different types of insurance. So we at Hamilton Place do landlord insurance. We insure something like 30,000 properties, and we do the insurance book for the NRLA. With regard, that's that general landlord insurance, damage, water, floods, theft, all that stuff. With regard to a rent guarantee, as we talked about, loads of, I mean, Direct Line, 200,000 policies, they pulled them. Yeah, not paying out. COVID-19 terms of business. Obviously, there's been a lot of criticism. I believe that Good Lord's Insurance with DAS, I think they're still paying out. I mean, I'm a big fan of Good Lord and the work that they do. I like their platform, I like their education, I like the way they work with their agents. And I did a webinar not long ago. So I believe that they're still paying out, you know. I think that it's going to change. And I think, obviously, rental insurance is going to be more expensive. You know, I've always said it, obviously, what I do for a living and running Landlord Action and obviously being on a TV program called Nightmare Tenant Slum Landlords, obviously before crisis, having rental insurance is a no-brainer, you know, to cover your rent every single month and pay the illegals. But COVID-19's changed everything now. So as an agent, yes, you'll offer rent guarantee insurance. You know, you need to just hunt around. But I think that a lot of these insurance underwriters are going to watch, wait, and see what their loss ratio is going to be before they get back into the market and remarket.
Okay, lovely. So I want to go back to some things you were saying about the tenants, and I've got a tenant that potentially can't pay the rent at the moment. Is there a checklist that you should be giving out to these tenants to actually qualify whether they can pay the rent or they're just trying it on?
So yeah, so look, as an agent doing fully management, your landlords expect you to have those difficult conversations, and they are difficult conversations because let's be very clear, letting agents, you know, you're dealing with landlords. Landlords get a disease called landlord rage, which is what we call a landlord action, and we're like landlord Samaritans a lot of the time. You know, you never want to call landlord action. They're like emergency plumbers, but you know that they're there. You know, and letting, I mean, half our business comes from letting agents. You need to find, if a tenant turns around and says, "I can't pay the rent," what's the reason why you can't pay the rent? I'm self-employed. I can't do that. Well, look, I need to explain that to the landlord. I need some sort of documentation. Have you applied for furloughing? Can we see some sort of application process? Have you applied for university credit? We need to be able to do that so we can work with you, right? Not that we're going to serve a notice, we're going to evict you, because it is a last resort. Yeah, you need to have that dialogue, bearing in mind pre-action protocol is going to be coming in. I think, you know, and that is going to be some sort of process. So, you know, what's happening now, it is about the dialogue, it is about the communications, and it is about having conversations with an agent. Say, look, your tenant's not paying the rent, the court procedure's been suspended. It could be 3 to 6 months you're not going to get your rent. Having those those direct, truthful conversations. How do you budget? You know, yes, we have to evict and we need to evict, and we can use a company or solicitors to do that for you. But actually, we need to be able, if we do get that and we do gain possession, and it is very sad evicting a tenant, you've got a mortgage to pay. Can you get assistance to get a deferment from your mortgage provider if you can prove documentation? Because you can do that. But let's face it, Steve. Mortgage rates are rock bottom. I mean, you know, you're old and ugly enough, a bit like me, to know the late 80s.
Speak for yourself.
You are very tanned, actually. I did say that for you. But anyway, I thought it was a lock-in, but you've been to Barbados, mate, haven't you? So you're not an Edgware.
Secrets out.
Yeah, but we
that's
don't.
That's meant to be our secret, and we don't have anyone watching, so we're okay.
It's only because you're a fellow Spurs fan, I won't say, right? But interest rates of 15-16%. Then look at them now. It's completely different. But we know unemployment's going to go up. But you know, there is going to be. You know, I had one agent. He manages 1,000 units. He contacted us last week at Landlord Action. He said that the university have turned around and said to some of the students, don't pay the landlord because there's this campaigning of the tenants union. He's had 30 students with different landlords. Some are professional landlords, some are, you know, accidental, part-time, not paying their rent, thinking they've got a duty not to pay them. Well, they're contractually liable and you've got a guarantor, but he's still got to deal with that difficult situation. And you've got to remember, and I said this to my fellow directors at Hamilton Fraser, and we are a supplier, you know, and we're government authorised back schemes, and we have all these different services in the private rental sector. And this was the day before the lockdown started. I said, businesses, our customers, our letting agents and landlords are going to remember the way that we treat, we engage, and how we help them, you know, as a supplier. And there's letting agents as well, because the biggest criticism that you get from landlords about letting agents, exactly what you said, they don't do anything. Why am I paying their renewal fee? They don't do anything. But actually, you need to explain and have those comms and have those direct technology, you know, that reporting system. We've done this. We care about your property. You know, we know what you are as a landlord and you want to build to your portfolio. Understand your landlord. A lot of agents don't. That's the problem.
So how would you deal with that situation with all those students that aren't willing to pay?
How would I deal with it? So, look, what happens is, we are helping. Landlord Action are helping. We're sending a template letter to say you are contractually liable. Okay, he's tried to have the conversation. He's firefighting. These landlords driving him mad, saying, "Where's my rent? Where's my rent?" I would bang out letters to the tenant. I'd bang out letters to the guarantor to say you are liable for the rent. The biggest problem you've got is, and you know, your father and your kids obviously have had higher education and whatever. Are they going to renew their next term at university? Because a lot of the students have gone back to the family home. You know, it's not opening up until July, August, whatever. So that's an issue. The student market taking a big hit. So we do the letters. We'd refrain from doing legals. We'd have to apply pressure and say, you know what, you're on the hook until the end of the tenancy. You own a property. You're a homeowner, Steve. You know, we'll issue proceedings if we have to, but albeit everything's delayed.
Okay. So Jim said we all want to ensure the tenant keeps a roof over their head, and I agree. Eviction is a last resort. Correct. Zoe, I'm not surprised, is up for a lock-in and a lock-out. No surprise there. So coming back, you've actually agreed a rent reduction with the tenants. Would you need to return some of the deposit? How's that work?
The deposit is to be used at the end of the term. Okay, let's be clear about that. That's the end of the term on the checkout. So, you know, I said to landlords, get what you can during these times. Yeah, the rent's 1,200 quid a month. You take 600 quid a month. You defer the next 2-3 months, and then you work out some sort of plan. But understand that your tenant is being transparent and they are telling you the truth and not trying it on, because we have had scenarios where quite blatantly landlords said the tenants are trying it on. They said they've done this, said that when I've asked for proof, they haven't given us proof. So working out a plan that they pay X amount over a certain amount of time, that's going to be an issue, because you've got to realise by the time they come to Landlord Action, and like I said, we've been trading 20 years, 85% of the time, landlords will never ever get the money back. You get a money order, tenant's done a runner, takes 6 months to try and trace them. And what have tenants got in assets? Most of them don't have anything. That's why they're renting, you know, unless you've got a guarantor, you know, which is not a lot of the time, to be honest. The debt lasts for 6 years. And of course, the money order is not a CCJ. You have to enforce it to become a money order. So I think eventually what will happen is rent payments will be linked to rental passporting. I can see that coming in with property, property MOTs, which Kate Faulkner and the Letting Industry Council have done a lot of work on, hopefully to replace HMO licensing, which is the bane of everyone's life, and everyone's totally against that because of with regard to how the enforcement is, and a lot of landlord thinks it's merely a way of taxation. But actually, as a letting agents should be experts on HMO applications because they should be doing it for their landlords, again taking away the stress. It's all part of the management process.
Okay, if you've got any questions, please put them in now. I want to go back. You talked about landlord language, and most letting agents don't talk about what landlords want. So what language, if I was a letting agent, should I be putting in my conversations, putting in my chats, putting in my blogs to demonstrate that I am an expert in that field?
So you know what? It's a really good question, Steve. First thing, you've got a book of 150 properties. I know Zoe Bywater. I did a day in the life. I write, and we're the legal representatives for the Belvoir Group. And I did a day in the life, and I went in and I did some shadowing there, and I wrote a blog. Firstly, you have to understand your landlord. So, you speak to Paul, he owns 3 properties and he's a professional. Firstly, you have to understand all the different landlords, where they are retired, whatever. So when you are having having the conversation, understand about their personal life a little bit. It ties a little bit of relations in. You're not just a number. That's really good because you're doing also having an excuse to speak to your landlord because you might want to try and upsell them something. I'm all about the upsell, and I've been doing sales all my life, especially if they're doing let only to full management. And of course, you do your comms, you do your newsletters. But then I think you get a lot of letting agents that were landlords and have obviously became letting agents because they were frustrated with how letting agents were. I think it's got to be very emotive. So don't worry, we're going to look after your property. I'm going to make sure that we're going to report to you when we have to do it. I'm going to take the aggravation away. You're going to get your rent on time. Actually, why do landlords go to letting agents? What's the main reason? I'm going to ask you that question. What's the main reason you go to a letting agent?
Well, look, for me, it would be peace of mind, knowing I've got a professional who's going to look after my asset. Hopefully, I want you to find me a professional. I want you to find me a good tenant. I want to make sure that my rent's paid on time. I want to make sure that there's no voids. And you should have that expertise and knowledge to find that for me.
Exactly. The key highlight point is when I'm speaking to a landlord, and you know what you could say. You could even use you saw that program on Channel 5, Nightmare Tenant. All those landlords that come on my program are all self-managed landlords. That if I tell them what's a reference, they think I was scared. I was swearing at them. I mean, we're talking about clueless landlords, and I know I'm sounding harsh, and I tell them in a nice about way that you should have done this, you should have done that, and I try and educate. I mean, we have extreme stories, and the new series, by the way, is coming out in June, July. I've spent 9 months filming. We've got 12 episodes coming out. The key to a letting agent being instructed by a landlord: do not worry. I have pre-referenced tenants waiting to move in, and they are, and I give you information. What happens is agents don't give enough information about the tenants they're putting in. Oh, they've passed the reference. He's a doctor. Actually telling a bit about the character and what they do and how they do it. And, because the landlord wants those things. There's 5 things that keep a landlord awake at night: rent arrears, void periods, maintenance. I mean, I ask these letting agents, how many of your landlords complain about having to pay maintenance repairs? They've all put their hands up because landlords don't like spending money. You've also got the government, you've got the government interference and legislation, which is obviously the bane of everyone's life. But you know what? We're compliance officers. We're going to look after that. You don't have to deal with that. And of course, taxes. The taxes. With regard to Section 24 come in and the additional stamp duty. I mean, really, my view is that really to get things going again. Yes, they're going to defer business rates as well and council tax or whatever. But actually, I think they should scrap the additional stamp duty to get things going again. But you will see movement, you'll see opportunities, you'll see landlords exit, you'll see landlords come in. I think that the market will come down a bit, but the resi market will hold up because demand's there. People need to sleep somewhere.
So here's an interesting question. So for everybody watching, okay, those 5 things that you said that landlords want and are interested in, and it's a priority for them. how many of you honestly are telling all your landlords, your buy-to-let investors, those things? Is that going out in your message, that whether you're doing, I mean, you've given 5 videos that people could be doing to their local community, their local landlords today. You've given them 5 blogs to help them to say, you know, this is what we do to take the stress from it, in order to help. It'd be interesting. Just put, honestly, I want your honest comments, whether it's yes or no, you tell people those 5 things. Okay, and if you're shy, that's absolutely fine.
Really good point. You know what? That's really good. I think what you've got to understand, and all agents are different, and we're in different areas. You know, and I only started doing marketing and media, whatever, because I thought, you know what, it's got to be good for my business. You know, I did my first talk in 2001. Didn't know what I was doing. Did my first filming in 2000. I just did it because I had confidence, right? But you know what? Content is so important. It's about branding. Branding is layering. I mean, I'll give you an example. One example. I had a guy, I'm not going to say the company, but a massive, big property portfolio, built to rent, big operators. They got about 3,000 units, scaling up to 10,000, right? He read content that I wrote, obviously saw me and whatever, like the way that I did, and he's instructed us on the back of that. You'll get local landlords that think, you know what, I like the work that you're doing. I can see that you know your stuff. You're a buy-to-let expert. You're not a letting agent. You know about the market. You know landlords want to get a return. A lot of them want to pay their mortgage. They don't want the stress. And they want a nest egg for their kids because we know pensions don't work, you know, most of the time.
So, Mark Newton, I know you were on a different live earlier, and I know you asked that question. So hopefully that's answered a lot of your questions from the other content that you were watching earlier. So a couple of people that have commented, so thank you for being honest. Brendan said 4, Richard said 4 out of 5. Jim says, I agree, suspend ADS to stimulate the market. Sarka says main reason to get rent on time and no hassle. Jim says take the hassle away. So again, you know, this is great stuff that agents should be using to demonstrate why they are the buy-to-let expert. You know, what they can do to help landlords out there.
Can I ask you guys? Sorry, got feedback. Can I ask you guys? We've got a section on Landlord Zone, which is called Landlord Hero. They've got an email address called landlordhero@landlordzone.co.uk. Your agents out there must have heard some really good stories. Every Friday we do, Nigel Lewis, who obviously writes for us and writes from the Negotiator, we write a section, Hero of the Week. Have any of you guys got landlord heroes? I mean, maybe hero might be extreme because obviously the NHS are heroes, but have you guys got any really great stories of landlords helping tenants out during these really tough times? If you could write to us at that email address, I'd love to feature some stories. Or even if you agents, you're going above and beyond. I want to highlight the great work letting agents do. I mean, I'm all about, you know, and I know I perceive myself as the landlord's friend, but also the letting agent's friend. It's all about, we want a good industry. There is much more compliance. The government want to get hold of making. I get fed up because I hear maybe think I'm on a TV program called Nightmare Tenants, Slum Landlords, which doesn't help, I suppose. But let's just think, slum landlords, criminal landlords is very, very small. All we hear in the media is bad this, bad that, and whatever. And actually, because good news stories don't tell. I'm trying to build something up on Landlord Zone, but actually just understanding. And I'm sure a lot of your letting agents, they go on, you know, property industry are letting agents today, but go on the landlord portfolio. You know, come on Landlord Zone. You'll see how we write and how we feel. And I do a thing called LZ Voice, which is landlords in an LZ and a landlord voice. Feeling and understanding landlords is really, really important. I know a lot of agents do, but there's a lot of agents that don't, and they just see them as a number.
But look, you've got, you know, I think there was, I can't remember, is it 118 as well? That's a landlord's zone.
Property 118, really good, yeah. And
yeah,
property tribes.
You got property tribes as well. You know, so actually, there's loads of sites where landlords are, and you know you've got these opportunities. But are you going on there? Are you helping yourself? Are you demonstrating that you're that knowledgeable person? Because there are loads of places where you can find landlords if you want to. So one final question for you, because I'm really grateful for your time, and I know this isn't the first one you've done today, and knowing you, you've got many more, you TV star. So, so you touched on Kate Faulkner, who's a fantastic property commentator and journalist, and you talked about Kate designing some form of property MOT. Is that something that's out there already? Is that something that people can get hold of and see? Or what sort of things are going to be going in there?
It's in testing stage at the moment. It's really good. I'll tell you what I'll do, Steve, is I'll send you a link of some information on it from Kate. She's been working with Teresa Vollet, who's obviously head of lettings at Savills and at the Lettings Industry Council, which is a really good group actually. And it's basically the MOT that stays with the property, which covers EPC gas. So essentially like what a car MOT has. I mean, that's where it's going. But I think also with that, rent payments are also linked with a rental passport. So you think about the tenants that miss a rent payment and it gets picked up. The problem you get with referencing, you know, a lot of landlords, they've evicted a tenant, it doesn't show up in the referencing because it's not a default. Or actually, if you build up your payments, because a lot of tenants obviously want to buy properties and they want to build up their obviously their credit score, that they've made the rent payments. But yeah, I'll send you a link of the work they've done. They are engaging with the government, and really it's something that can look to hopefully replace licensing, which has been a real bane of a lot of people's lives.
Brilliant, that's fantastic. So if you like a copy of that, please comment yes. And as soon as Paul sends it over to me, I will forward it on to you. So if you like that, just put yes in the comments. Paul, you've been a fantastic guest. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for your time. 40 minutes has absolutely flown by. A bit like watching Spurs winning a Champions League game. Wasn't great.
I saw you in the final, didn't I?
Yeah, we were at Madrid together. I think you almost got run over, didn't you? You almost lost your life going there. So right, we're getting loads of yeses. So Brendan, I'll get that to you. Cheryl, Max, Richard, Isaac, another ex Green & Co. Nice to see you. Pierce, yeah, get that over. Harry, Mandy, Chris, Saka, Anton. So loads of people have said yes. So Paul, Charlotte as well. So another Belvoir there. We've got some Cheryl, who obviously not a Spurs fan. Spurs win the Champions League. I think she's taking a mickey.
I know one Arsenal fan watching, which is Sean Hooker. So let's give a little bit. I want you to give a little bit of abuse to Sean Hooker. I know he's going to be a future guest, but have you got anything about Arsenal, Stephen?
I can't say. Okay, there's a few. All I know is there's a few Spurs fans here as well. So look, thanks very much. On Thursday at 12:30, I'm going to be joined by Chris Baker of McDowell's, talking all things surveys, lease extensions. So again, if you got any questions on that, please come to the Facebook page. Please let me know. If there's any other guests that you would like to see on here, and spoken to, I know Sean has kindly volunteered himself to do that, so we're trying to get him on. We've got some hack saying 15% club. Not sure what that means, but I'm sure we'll find out. So again,
you know what I could do, Stephen? I could ask one of my really big portfolio landlords, seriously, to come on.
Yeah,
who's at various different level, and I'll see if you can do a Q&As with him. That might be quite good.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Lovely. So again, thanks very much. Please like it, please share it, please get the message out. The more shares that help. There's some quality information that you've given. You know, people want more landlords. They want to go from let only to rent collection to fully managed. Paul, you've given some fantastic tips. So thanks very much. Really grateful for your time. Up the Spurs. And we won't comment what Sean just said. So goodbye from me and goodbye from Paul, and have a productive rest of the day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.